I'm Jessica and this is my East Side story. Welcome to my hood. So we're gonna take a little walk. I'm gonna talk about where I grew up and how I got to Las Vegas. I come from immigrant parents from Guatemala who migrated to the United States. Their first stop was LA, and my mom decided to move us out of LA because there was too much gang violence, and we ended up here. Little did she know, right? So we were really active and we used to move around a lot. The first place that I can remember where we lived was the Sierras, which is right across the street from Boulevard Mall. And then we moved here, right down the street on Phillips Street. And then from there we just moved from like 16, 17, 19, you know, and I also spent a lot of time on 28th Street and the State Streets. So a lot of the East Side, and of course there's no East Side without Northtown, so I also spent a lot of my life there. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that and show you guys how cool Vegas really is. So this is St. Anne's Church, which a lot of the families here on the East Side visit, as well as St. Christopher's in North Las Vegas. So St. Anne's was a safe haven for me. I used to go to school right across over there, Fremont, even though at the time I lived near the State Streets, near Dogtown. They used to bus us. So we would jump on a bus and they'd drive us all the way over here and we'd end up here. So there was a little time between the drop off of the bus and school starting. So I would walk, come to church, because one thing about the hoods and the barrios is that our faith is grand, and without our faith we would not survive, not one day. So we believe in something, and this is what I believe in. So let's take a walk down the street, a few blocks. Do you want to walk there? Okay, let's walk there. So we used to walk this, like my mom, she'd make us walk all of this just to exercise, because back in the day we didn't have no internet, we were bored. She would get us wet with the hose, you know, like it was so like a different wholesome time, very family oriented, very faith oriented. My mom made us like our costumes, and you know, she made us clothes. And I know that when I was growing up there was like Bermuda shorts, right? But they were super expensive and we couldn't afford them. So my mom was like, show me which ones you want. And I'd be like, I want something like that. And boom, she would just sew it up and make it. Which takes me to like her story getting here. My mom came here with my oldest brother and my youngest sister at the time. And she traveled through Mexico with these two kids, and she made it here, right? She met my dad in LA. So my dad works, my mom works. You know, my mom has like many hustles. She worked in the factories in LA. She used to sell Tupperware. She used to make dresses for kids. She did whatever she could to save up money to bring the rest of my siblings from Guatemala. So she raised all the money, got all her money together. In that time, my brother decides to fuck up and he gets sent back to Guatemala. Now my mom has to go get 4 of them instead of 3 of them. So let's go down this block. And I haven't been down this block in a long time. Okay, so my mom comes back, she brings all my siblings. Okay, so now we're all together. Okay, my mom does the damn thing, hustles, saves money, grabs my siblings, crosses borders, right? And not only that, but she brought other people's kids too, because my mom's a badass. Okay, so this is the first like memory that I have, like all of my family together, okay, was living in this house. And it wasn't even a house, it's a duplex. And We used to play on these streets. We used to dance on these streets. My brother used to break dance on these streets. We used to shut this whole street down. And we were little. Let me see if I can remember which one it is. So in this house, my dad and my oldest brother, they used to work in this French bakery. And my brother worked the graveyard shift. And one day he was really, really tired, and I think Karen, he passed the red light. So the police officer followed him all the way home. So not only did my brother get a ticket, but INS was called and my house got raided. So for a 4-year-old, that was super traumatic to have officers kicking your door. With just a little bit of time, just my brother coming in and saying, "Mom, I ran a red light, cop is coming," and we didn't have no way out. It was like no way out. Because you'll see the way the place is built. So INS comes, takes my whole family. They come and they pick me up. My cousin comes and gets me because I'm a U.S. citizen, the only U.S. citizen at the time. And they take my family into holding. So I can't remember like exactly how long they were gone, but that was in the 80s. And it seemed like it was like, wow, like the worst thing that could have ever happened to us. But in reality, it was a blessing in disguise because my family was able to get an attorney, an immigration attorney. They fell under the amnesty law and they were able to get their documents. And now 90% of my siblings are American citizens. My mom's an American citizen, so this is it. You can see, like, I don't want to be like all up in the mix, but and all I remember is like officers back and forth, like grabbing everybody. I haven't been back here in 40 years.
So it brings back a lot of memories here, huh?
Yeah, and a lot of maybe healing that I needed. It's very traumatic for someone to come and invade your space. And then not knowing if you're ever going to see your parents again, or what's going to happen, or some of them leaving, or some of them going to stay. Is my family going to be separated? And they even asked me, do you want to come to the prison with, like, you know, the holding or whatever, the jail where they hold them at? The officer's like, do you want to go with your parents?
On top of that, I still ask, huh?
Yeah, I'm like, no, the fuck, I don't want to go with my parents. I mean, I did, but not to jail, right? So I lived here when I was probably about 10 or 11. And we had everything we needed around here that was Hispanic related. Like, we had this store called Lucky's, but it was like the very first like Cardenas, but not, you know what I mean? We didn't have those when we were growing up. We didn't have carnicerias or any of that. So it was like the grocery store, right? And then we had a 99-cent store that was right across the street over there. We had a fabric store. Like I mentioned, my mom used to make us a lot of our stuff. But we used to play. I learned how to ride a bike here. If you went down that alley, it was kind of sketchy. It's like where everybody used to do dope. But like on this side, it's like where all the kids played. I have really good memories here. But I brought you to this particular place because I had a homeboy, rest in peace, Luis, and his brother, rest in peace, Frost, and they used to live up the street. And when they murdered my homeboy, his brother decided to do activism work. So that was my first like taste of activism, right? I think I was 16 years old, and I just wanted to do more and more. And I wanted to empower my community. I wanted to be a voice. At such a young age, I had already gone through so much and witnessed a lot of things that were not fair, racism, you know. So I wanted to be a voice. I wanted to change things, right? So I always knew that I was loud, so I wanted to use that for good. So I got into cars and like liking cars and lowrider magazines and the culture here. This is where my brother, he had his trucks, mini trucks. He had his an IROC Z. My sister had a mini truck. My brother-in-laws had lowriders. They had Impalas. They had Regals. So I fell in love with that here at this place. I fell in love with Lowrider Magazine. I fell in love with Dazzla Del Rio here. I started to express my my identity, and I started to see more brown when I lived here. You know, there was more people that looked like me. Visibility really matters. People that look like you and dress like you and talk like you, that's a big deal. And this was home. I felt like this was home, where I started to develop a like for something different, building, helping my brother, like even just wash his cars or whatever. Like it didn't matter, just as long as I was doing something that involved cars. I hated to take pictures, okay? I just wanted the fun fact. The way that I started modeling was through my activism. I was asked by a group of strong women who are activists. They asked me to join their group, and I said, sure, of course, yes. And part of that was to model, and I had to do it, right? So from there, I started modeling for different brands, different clothing lines. I've worked for different cannabis lines, including Steezy, mezcal companies. I never thought that I could or would and even get paid for taking pictures, but I've been blessed. I've been able to travel to different places. And a little girl that grew up in this place, you know, I never thought that I would be able to experience such a wonderful life. And even though I went through my ups and downs and my obstacles and my struggles, God took me out of that, and now I'm able to give back to my community, right? And as we talked about the activism and the community work, I've done about 25 years, because being a gangster is coming back to your community, being able to provide a resource or a gift, or be able to empower the young ones. Anything else, you're not an OG, sorry. So I would go to Fremont, right? But previous to that, I went to Roy Martin, which is over there on Stewart and 28th Street. I went to Sunrise Acres over there. I hung around Hadlin Park. So when you grow up on the east side, you grew up like on the east side. So you could be here, but you're hanging on 28th Street, you're hanging over there Maryland Parkway, and you were always gonna be safe, you know?
East side is the best side, huh?
East side is the best side. What else? There's a Winchell's Donuts over there. My dad used to like take me, and you know, we would go get donuts every Saturday. I'm just trying to like give you guys a little like history, some cool fun facts. There's a fire station. I know you guys remember the fire station. Every Saturday at 12 o'clock on the dot, that fucking fire, that alarm would go off, and you could hear it through the whole east side. Everybody would know Saturday, 12 o'clock. If you're from Vegas, you know that. Well, if you're old and you're from Vegas, you know that.
If you don't know now, you know, huh?
No, now you know. I love my hood. My hood showed me a lot of love. Still to this day, if you're from the east side and you grew up in my era, we all love each other very much. It didn't matter if we were from the same hood, you know, because even though we were from the same hood, we were from different cliques and we did not get along. But at the end of the day, we always had each other's back. To this day, we love each other, we care for each other. We follow each other on Instagram and whatnot. We see each other's families through social media, you know, and even though we don't have the chance to come together, like, we still tell each other that we love each other, that, you know, be safe. We still communicate and we still feed that bond, you know. I know people since I was like 10 years old and we're still really good friends because of the way that we grew up, you know, the loyalty, the love, and again, all the political bullshit, it was just put to the side and, you know, try to empower each other, try to do what we can for our young ones. So, like I had mentioned before, when I started to do like the modeling, I wanted to be visible to other brown young ladies and I wanted to be a good example. And I used it to mentor other young ladies, other young women, other children that have kind of the same upbringing of where I come from, people that related to me. And I've dedicated a lot of years to that. It's very important to me. And I know I'm not perfect, but if I waited to be perfect, I would never do it. Because God didn't tell me, hey, go be perfect and go help kids. He said, go help kids. So that's what I'm doing. So I hope that this touches somebody and lets them know that even if you are in the worst circumstances, even if your daddy is locked up, even if your parents do not have documents, even if you feel that you are lost, please remember that you have a purpose. You were created to do something on this planet, and God loves you.